Hey everyone, it's Alex here, otherwise known as YaBonks, and on today's episode of the YaBonks Show, I have some of the team members from the Survivor Protocol, which is going to be launching very soon. And with me today, I have Lonely and Ozzie. Would you guys like to say hi and maybe introduce yourselves a little bit?
Yeah, hey, what's up? Thanks for having us, YaBonks.
Of course.
Excited to be here. I know we talked about this, we made it work, so I think it's going to be really good for the project. I'm one of the marketing heads. You catch me doing all the social media. I'm putting together all of these AMAs. You've probably heard me on about 10 of them by now.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, I'm in Twitter, Discord, just trying to connect the dots to make this project as successful as possible before we get started. I've been in crypto since 2018. Joined up with this group of guys probably middle part of 2021 for most of us. And we're just really excited to launch our first project together. We think we got a really unique idea, and we're excited to talk to you about it today.
Awesome. And how about you, Ozzie?
Hey, how's it going? This is Ozzy. I'm a relative newbie, I guess. I've only been in crypto since 2021, but I quickly found that this group of people that Lonely just mentioned. Um, as far as my role in the team, I guess mostly it's second dev, but I also do some kind of project management and just other random tasks on the side. Um, and I guess that's it.
Very cool. Ozzy, what did were you a developer before you came in to the Web3 side of things, the blockchain world?
Yeah, a little more of a back end developer. But yeah, definitely something that I've dabbled with over the years. I'm in IT. I won't say exactly where, if that's all right. But um, yes, I definitely have a programming background, and that was one of the things that attracted me to crypto in the first place was, of course, the technology. So I wound up learning that kind of quickly and figuring out what smart contracts were, and yeah, just fell in love.
Very
And then
cool.
DeFi too, because I've got kind of a bit of a finance background,
Mm.
um, so that interested me right away.
He's actually here for the tech.
Right? The one guy. Well, the two of us, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I love the tech aspect of this as well. And my financial background in terms of DeFi is I love gambling on crypto. like I'm like most of these other like a lot of the degens out here. I can't help when I see something kind of cool looking or promising, I might throw some money at it and see what happens. Obviously, only money that's disposable and I'm willing to lose. Disclaimer there, anybody listening. I don't
Well
consider
done.
any of this investing or any of that. I consider these all like projects or games. They're all experimental economic models. And I think you guys even have, when you talk about Survivor Protocol, you talk about it as a game. Is that right, Lonely?
Totally. We're treating it as a game. We during the bear market, we thought like it's a pretty unique theme and an idea. We're all trying to survive kind of these past 6 to 8 months. So, you're taking game theory and strategizing how you want to play this game. We're giving you the opportunity to kind of control your returns. You're not kind of stuck with the entire project. Your APY is dynamic, it's self governing. You're in control of how you want to play the game. So it's more based on the individual, where I think a lot of other projects, you're kind of like stuck to the hard code. So we think it's interesting. It's a new idea. We're treating it as a game. We're calling everyone players, not investors. We have the
I can
HP token,
I
which
can
is
appreciate that being in the US and having the SEC kind of lurking around the corner. I like that you guys are calling it a game instead of being like this is a new investment vehicle. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, of course, there's investing involved, and we're all here to make money, right? But we think there is strategy, and we're really pushing that aspect. Like, there's, it's we're looking to see how it progresses. There is a lot of the unknown for us too. Like, some people are going to play it differently. We have a strategy channel in our Discord where there's a lot of different ideas popping around. So we're excited to see how it turns out and where it goes. But yeah, definitely treating it as a game. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest parts for me too when we got into this project was just not knowing how this is going to turn out, right? We've got our own models and ideas of what's going to happen and how this is going to play out. But yeah, once we put this in everybody's hands, it's just up to the market and the community. So It'll be
Awesome.
fun.
Yeah, and I appreciate that mindset because that's how I view all this stuff, and it might make people think more realistically about the potential risk reward profile with a lot of the projects in DeFi right now, especially the high APY stuff. And before we dive into all that, I want to just give some quick disclaimers just for like transparency. This is a paid video, by the way. They have hired me to help them with this AMA. They Some of this information that I might be saying might be incorrect or subject to change. I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. DeFi is super risky. So, please only play with money you are willing to lose because, like I said, it's super high risk stuff out here. Yeah, just be careful, everybody, and have fun, whatever you do, and just try to learn as much as you can about everything before, you dip your toes into any project. So, there you go. Disclaimers out of the way. While we're on the subjects of risk and DeFi in general, for you guys have not launched yet. Is that correct?
Correct. We will be launching on July 19th. So we're,
Okay.
I think, 2 weeks out. 2 weeks Tuesday, yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we're in the home stretch here. We're going to be launching on our website, survivorprotocol.com. Originally, it was going to be a pink sale, but we have opted against that just from some community feedback, some discussion with the team. We just decided to go that route. So, but yeah, it's hopefully you'll be seeing a lot of us over the next 2 weeks. We're really putting a good marketing push out there to try and get as many eyes on this as possible. We sought you out. I was looking through YouTube and trying to find people, and I came to the group. I said, guys, I think I found someone. He does like 3-hour videos on the code. I'm like, we got something different. Maybe this is the guy. So both of the devs were like, yeah, I think that might be a good place to start. So here we
He
are.
had me right there, right before I even watched the videos.
Well, I appreciate that. I like to really give people like a clear picture of this stuff because it's really easy to fall into the trap of just becoming a cheerleader for projects, because projects will pay you for marketing and for your platform and your audience. And a lot of times it's just easier to be like, this coin is going to the moon, hurrah. And like that kind of stuff has its place, but I kind of want to do something different with a slightly different playbook where it's like I'll be transparent, like this is a sponsored video, this stuff is high risk, right? That's one of the things that kind of, I guess, I don't know, maybe bothers me a little bit about the information I was getting from some other YouTubers. And don't get me wrong, not all of them are like this, but some of them might play up the reward side of things and play down the risk side of things. One video I really liked that you guys did was your AMA with James Pelton, and Jimmy's actually a buddy of mine, and I like how he did the AMA with you guys, where he was pretty clear about like the risk reward aspect of this, and I think he did a good job covering that. So I just wanted to give a shout out to James Pelton for really kind of being upfront about the risks in DeFi and high APY projects. And
Yeah.
I think that AMA you guys did with him was great.
No, James is great, and it's annoying that he's so busy because we tried to book him again before the launch, and I blinked and it was booked up. But
Yeah.
to your point, we're proud of the project. We think it's a good idea. So yeah, we're paying, but we want to go to people that are objective and are not just shilling us and are not moon boys. So like you said,
Right.
we're excited to get it out, and we're not afraid to talk to anyone about it because we believe in the project. So yeah, I think there's, you'll see that we're ready to answer any questions, and we really believe in this project. So we're excited about it.
Well, with that being said, my audience knows I have like very strict conditions and high standards when it comes to who I agree to make videos for or with. And you guys met my conditions. Actually, you have video chatted with me, Lonely, and we talked for well over an hour. Like a week or two ago, we talked about all sorts of different things. I've seen your face. I know your real name. I know where you live. Like you're a real person. You don't come across scammy to me in any way. Now, granted, with that being said, everybody still, this is DeFi. Be careful. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. But you're one of the few projects that one of the key project owners agreed to video chat privately with me, which filters out 95% of the projects that approach me for videos. So you were quick to be like, yeah, I have no problem doing that. So I appreciate you taking the time to video chat with me, showing me who you really are and all of that. And I know you're not doxxed publicly, is that correct?
Correct. We're choosing not to go that route. We've done the KYC. We'll have the audit, the multi-sig, everything else in place. We're just choosing at this time not to publicly dox. Like you said, we did speak behind closed doors. So, I think we're doing what we can to assure people we're for real. I'm on the line. If something goes wrong here, KYC with Assure, they have all my information. So that's why I have no problem coming on here and saying we're for real.
Awesome. And both you and Ozzie gave me your words before I agreed to do this. You both gave me your words that you said you're not going to rug pull and you're not going to commit financial fraud with malicious intent with this project. And I'm a man of honor, and I will take your word at face value for what it's worth, and I'll hold you to it. Okay, so don't make me regret any of this. Got okay?
No worry there. No worry at all.
All right, great. So
I was going to say earlier, if we wanted to do something like that, writing an entirely new protocol from scratch seems like a lot of work. Where we could just fork something else and whatever disappear with it.
Yeah, I agree. And there's also what I said earlier about pre-sales being extra risky, especially for me to cover because I can't see the code yet and I can't verify the audit. So I personally prefer to cover projects that have already launched because I can see the code that was deployed to mainnet, to the live production environment that everybody interacts with. And I can verify, yeah, here's their audit, here are the recommendations, and here's their code. It looks like they actually made the changes from the audit to their code, and I don't see any ruggable exploits that jump out at me. Now, granted, I'm not like a 100% Solidity expert, but I'm getting pretty good these days. And I can look at code and see if there's any just blatant rug code in there. So I haven't been able to do that with with pre-sales. You don't get that opportunity. Or even if somebody says here's my code in a pre-sale, you can look at it before we launch. They could always do a switcheroo later on. So I just want to give another disclaimer there for anybody listening. Pre-sales are inherently risky. Some of you might, I know a lot of my audience might wait until afterwards so they can look at the smart contract, make sure everything's all gravy and kosher. And then also, there's always that period if you do a pre-sale. Now, speaking of your pre-sale, though, you guys are doing it on Pink Sale. Is that right?
No, we're not using Pink Sale now. That was one change we made.
Oh.
We're going to be doing it on our website, survivorprotocol.com. We decided. We got a lot of pushback in our AMAs from a lot of communities with kind of not liking Pink Sale. A lot of people said that's where people go to rug pull. Caught us off guard a little bit, but we saw some other projects have been launching on their websites, doing okay. So we thought we would go that route. We also don't have to worry about them dumping the 4% tokens on us, which is something that we've seen happen with some other projects. Right. But we'll still be locking between 30 and 40% liquidity for well over a year. And so this is just a new way we're going to be going.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now, one...
Sorry, just to clarify that. Excuse me. He meant locking 100% of the liquidity that we create, which would be 30 to 40% of the funds raised in the pre-sale.
Okay, and how is the rest of the pre-sale going to be divvied up?
Sure, give me 1 second.
Sure. And yeah, I hear that a lot with Pink Sale. For whatever reason, I think anybody can launch anything on Pink Sale. They're kind of automated, where as long as you pay their fee, I think you can basically do any full-blown degen launch where some other platforms might be a little more they might have like more of a boutique section of their launch pad where they might vet you personally. You might have to dox with them or KYC with them as well. So I know a lot of people are pushing for that kind of stuff lately, but I also have seen some pre-sales where they use their website. Like I just made a pre-sale video for a project that used their website and it went smoothly. I mean, obviously there's always going to be some kind of hiccups, but overall, like everything turned out fine. They were able to move all that liquidity over to the DEX that they're trading on, and it seemed to go well. Is the DEX that you'll be trading on PancakeSwap?
Correct. It is PancakeSwap, and we'll probably use Boggs Finance as well.
Okay, and Bogged is an aggregator, so they'll be using
Correct.
Pancake on the back end. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Yeah, so let me know when you.
Yeah. So our public sale allocations, it's going to go 30% liquidity. We're putting 5% of what's raised to our jackpot, which we're excited to talk about.
Okay.
20% of the pre-sale is going to go to the team, and then the rest will be built around marketing, partnerships, develop, and security.
Gotcha. Are those team tokens going to have a vesting period?
Correct. Yes, we will have our team tokens vested over Ozzie. Is it 9 weeks? I think.
It's 8 or 9 weeks. Hang on, didn't have that schedule in front of me.
I got it here. Over 9 weeks.
Okay.
Sorry, one other thing that I was going to add earlier when you were talking about audits and the contract to launch.
Yeah.
One thing I've seen that, and I think we're going to insist on in the audit that we get, is there'll be like a final version of it, which will include the address of the deployed contract on mainnet. So just to be sure, again, when you're especially when there's a pre-sale and you don't know, whether the contract is the same as what's in the audit, at least for this one and hopefully for others, look for that contract address there so that we're verifying that yes, they did look at the exact same version of the code that we deployed.
Okay, so that contract will be deployed to mainnet but not initialized yet. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, no, it'll be initialized. It just, until the sale happens, nobody will have any tokens and won't be able to interact with it.
Gotcha. So once you guys do the pre-sale, you'll move over the liquidity and then start the minting process through the contract?
Yes. Sorry, I just had to think about how that whole workflow is going to go.
I think that's how it goes, at least for the most part.
Yep.
Okay.
The tokens will just be minted directly from the contract to all of the pre-sale participants.
Now,
once it's finalized.
Now for the deployer address, I know this is kind of technical, getting into the weeds a bit, but some people, consider this stuff. So with the deployer address, is that going to be the owner of the smart contract and the one who will be able to do the minting or call any of the owner only functions?
Well, so when the contract is deployed, when the protocol goes live, I should say, the multi-sig wallet will be the owner of the contract. So that will be the only way to interact with admin functions.
Okay.
Minting, you won't be able to mint directly from, admins won't be able to mint new tokens directly from the contract. It will only be, they'll be able to run the function that says, give everybody the right amount of pre-sale tokens based on what they bought in for. But nobody can say, right, just create 100,000 tokens and give it to this person, just to be clear about that.
Gotcha. And so the owner of the contract itself will be a multi-sig wallet?
Yes, it'll be deployed by probably a regular wallet, and then once it's all set up and configured, then we'll switch the ownership over to the multi-sig.
Awesome. Cool. And do you guys know ahead of time who's going to be on that multi-sig?
All 6 of our core team members will be on it.
Oh, wow. Okay, 6. Nice.
Absolutely.
Now, I noticed the KYC Let me pull up the KYC here just so people can see, and then once we're done with the KYC and this whole part of it, we'll jump into the mechanics, and I've got some community questions as well about how the game mechanics are going to work. So I have the KYC here. Can you see it on my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is Assure DeFi. It is Survivor Protocol. This is the same project we're talking about, the HP token. It says you guys have been successfully KYC'd, so that's great. And down here, you have 3 team members on it. You have Lonely, here you are, head of marketing, social media, and you are on all 3 of the contracts, Treasury, liquidity, and the actual smart contract. And you're from a tier 1 country. For people who don't know, tier 1 is strong law enforcement with resources and capabilities to effectively legislate and pursue crypto-related cybercrime. So that means if anything were to happen with, if there were any kind of rug pull or anything, Lonely here would be getting wrecked.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is that accurate to say?
Yes, but not accurate in the fact that it won't happen. So we're good there.
Good. Okay, good. But there is accountability here since you're in a tier 1 country. Now, Hugh, he's also in a tier 1 country, so he's also, his ass is also on the line big time. Now, Parvati, the lead dev, I noticed, is a tier 3 country, and just so viewers understand, tier 3 means law enforcement and legislative resources severely lacking, in most cases would prove ineffective at pursuing crypto-related cybercrime. So, if there was anything to happen, the Parvati is the only one I see on here that might be hard to hold to account, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of our team is US based. He is not. We brought on Ozzie because his English is not as good, but you can be assured that we're all in the multi-sig. Most of us are US based, so if they came for us, the tier 1s are certainly at risk.
Okay, good to know. So, that's not a decision that you take lightly here. So I appreciate that the majority of the people on this KYC are tier 1. No offense to anybody living in tier 3 countries, but just in terms of law enforcement and accountability, this here is good to see. And then, did you say you're planning on expanding the KYC to all 6 team members? Is that right? Or no?
No, we have not discussed that.
Okay, that was
right
just
now
the
we're doing
multi-sig.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, but that's why we thought it was important to do multiple people on the KYC, just to get some tier 1 people on there. I know a lot of people, some projects, they just look for the lead dev to be KYC'd, whereas we wanted to give a little more insurance with some more team members.
Cool. So that's good. I'm glad you guys have this KYC, especially with some tier 1 members who have, some real, skin on the line, especially with a pre-sale, because you never know what's going to happen with pre-sales. So this is good. It shows you guys are taking this stuff seriously. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to cover with the KYC. And I think we've covered pretty much the risk profile in terms of like potential ruggable aspects of it, or like team member profiles and KYCs. And I think a lot of my viewers look for that information first. So that's why I wanted to cover that, so that way those people can know, hey, what is my true risk profile if I were to play this game. Now, with that being said, this is a high APY project, and we're going to jump into those mechanics now. So with a high APY project, I want to give one more risk disclaimer. Extremely inflationary tokenomics do carry their own set of risks, and I believe Survivor Protocol is trying a brand new experimental model where they try to alleviate some of that in a creative way. but there's still always going to be that risk, especially if everybody holds and stays at that tier 10, which I'll explain in a minute. So with high inflation, there could be a price action over, especially over a long period of time, as we've seen with these other positive auto rebasing high APY projects, especially in the down market where, their price action doesn't look great. So everybody just be aware that there are ways to trade these projects. Now, obviously, this is brand new experimental way to do it. So there will be many different ways for people to gamify and strategize how they play your specific model. But, there's always going to be risks if you buy and hold a highly inflationary token. So keep that in mind, and just, this is never financial advice. So just be cognizant of the inflation aspect of things. And yeah, so with that disclaimer, do you want to go ahead and give me kind of the elevator pitch, or just a quick rundown of how your protocol works?
Yeah, so kind of what you were talking about with the auto rebasing projects, auto staking projects with the high inflation, the high APY. You saw some of those projects go from, I think Titano was 140,000% APY, and then you saw some get above 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
So we kind of saw that and said, this isn't sustainable. But we liked the model and thought we could tweak it. Right when we started seeing that, we kind of came out with this idea of a dynamic APY self-governing, where your APY will cut every time you sell the HP token. So again, it goes back to kind of the individual. You're not stuck with everyone taking profit and then you're being penalized if you choose to hold. So if you choose to hold, you're going to stay at this high 400,000% APY to start. And if you sell and take profit, your APY gets cut in half. And then the hope is inflation and emissions will be reduced.
Okay. So your okay.
Now, to combat that as well, there's also a Ration Pool where you'll be collecting weekly BUSD rewards. And this is a way to incentivize people that, want to take some profits. You are able to take profits with the weekly rewards and not have to worry about losing your tiers APY. So you're going to start at a tier 10 with 400,000% APY. And what happens is if you sell the token, your APY gets cut in half. You can go all the way down to a tier 1, which would essentially have 781% APY. Now, we don't expect any wallet to probably get down there, but it gives you the ability to take profits and you can still collect high APY. Or if you choose, you can stay in a tier 10 and collect the 400% throughout the protocol. Now, there is a way that you will be able to take profits without selling your HP token. We have a Ration Pool, which is filled with buy and sell taxes, and that'll pay out weekly in BUSD rewards. So if you're in a tier 10, depending on how much HP token you hold, you get 50% of that Ration Pool. So you're able to take a stable coin while not selling the HP token. Another advantage of staying in the tier 10 is we have a Jackpot, which is going to get paid out every 90 days. We're taking 5% of the pre-sale funds and putting it straight to that Jackpot. So we anticipate with good volume, that Jackpot can probably reach over 6 figures pretty quickly. So that's another incentive to hold. But the strategy comes into play is, say maybe you want to take quick profits, go down to a tier 9, you can still stay at the 200% APY. Some people may play multiple wallets. You keep one in the tier 10, another wallet you let trickle down.
Okay.
So yeah, we're excited to see how people kind of take this on, but we think that the tier system, which is, I'm sure Ozzie can tell a little more about, was made from scratch. And we think it's just a good way to really get rid of some inflation, control emissions, and should hopefully sustain the protocol. And it's a more balanced APY. We weren't shooting to start at 1,000,000% APY and then cut it down. We felt 400,000 was a good number, and then still, if people do want to sell, they stay in a good tier. So everything is kind of front loaded. The higher tiers for the Ration Pool, I don't anticipate too many people getting down to a tier 6, 5, and 4 wallet. But again, it's all about the strategy, how you want to play. Some people may say, hey, in the first couple of weeks, I'm going to get down to a tier 8 and I'll collect more of the ration pool because other people may not be in that tier. So, part of the game of Survivor, which is we think is going to be really fun to watch.
Interesting. Now, this ration pool here, it says tier 10 gets 50% of the ration pool. So 50% of the entire ration pool goes towards the tier 10 holders. And how is that then divvied up to the holders inside of tier 10?
That's going to depend on the amount of HP you hold. So certainly higher holders of HP will receive more of that. But that goes to everyone. So in the first couple weeks, tier 10 is probably going to be loaded up with more people. So like I said, some strategy may be, hey, let me get down to tier 9 and 8 for the first couple weeks. But as the project progresses,
okay.
Yeah, see, now got you thinking.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I was like, why would anyone do that? Okay, that makes sense.
Well,
So you're saying if tier 10 is diluted with a lot of holders, then there is going to be a lot of that ration pool going to only a few people potentially in the lower tiers. Is there going to be any kind of insight or analytics or any way people can see the tier distribution, like how many holders are in each one, or is that going to be kind of a mysterious aspect of this where they're going to have to either be like a super sleuth on the blockchain to be able to go through the holders list and like figure all that out? Or is there going to be any tools you guys make to make that more visible?
That's a good question. And now you're making me think about the game aspect of not showing people. I was considering we were considering putting that on the DApp. Yeah, that you could see how many wallets are at each tier, or at least how many are in tier 10, and then how many have sold, perhaps, so that you can get some of it, but you don't know the details of all the lower tiers. Because definitely the game aspect of it, like a lot of us are fans of the actual Survivor show, so we want that environment where like you don't know who to trust and you don't know what's going on. Like maybe people will be psyching each other out in the Discord, and this could be really fun. So.
Yeah.
I think we want to make a transparent DApp that will kind of like show you where you stand and what you hold. But I think we'll keep some of the mystery to it as well, because it is a game, it is a strategy, and it's the theme is outbuy, outhold, outlast. So you're kind of playing to win and get the most return here. So yeah, I mean that's a great question you asked. Made me think a little bit, but I think there's certainly you want to have some mystery in it.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting way to go about it. Maybe show like if you're in tier 10, maybe only show tier 10 data and show like what percentage of tier 10 your current tier that you hold, and maybe the others are like black boxes. You don't know what's going on in the other tiers, and then you might have people like you said trying to psych each other out in the Discord saying, oh man, I'm in tier 8 and I just got $500 BUSD as my reward. Oh, this ration pool is undiluted. This is great. And then all these people are like, oh, really? And they'll sell and they'll sell. And then all of a sudden they realize tier 8, that guy was fibbing. He was bluffing. Maybe tier 8 is saturated and diluted, and they're getting it's those rations are getting spread out amongst a ton of people. And that guy's still sitting in tier 10 thinking, I just tricked a bunch of people to get out of my tier and to get less of the APY, and now I get more of the ration pool for myself as well.
And more of the jackpot, because only tier 10 gets the jackpot.
Yeah, okay. I forgot about that. So that's dude, that's funny. That's an interesting concept.
I mean, that's another strategy. Do you just start one wallet, kind of set it and forget it, and just say, hey, I'm going to put in X amount of dollars that I'm willing to lose or just hold on to with the chance to win this jackpot? So who knows, if 500 people do that, that jackpot may not be as huge for a lot of people, but it certainly is weighted towards people that buy in more. I think we could probably show, if you go to our Medium on the jackpot, it is a weighted system for time versus how much you put in. But like my thought is like, yeah, I'm going to throw some money in here and just make sure I get a slice of that jackpot at the end. What if it grows to couple 100,000. Who knows? If there's a lot of volume, it could easily grow and grow and grow. And yeah, I'm going to want a piece of that jackpot. So I think one big strategy you see a lot of people saying is like multiple wallets and how you're going to play each wallet. So I think that's another really fun part of the project.
Yeah, so this is the Medium article on the jackpots. If you guys want to find this, look for Survivor Protocol Jackpot, and you can find it from their link tree. Go to Medium here, go to their Medium, and go to the article they wrote on the jackpot. And it breaks down, because this information isn't updated in the white paper just yet. Not, that I saw in the jackpot. So this seems more current, because you're saying there's going to be every 3 months or 90 days, there is going to be a new jackpot that builds up. And that is, that's interesting, because when I was reading the white paper here, I was under the impression there's only one jackpot, and then that's it, one big thing. But this is kind of showing me something that might entice people to get back in at a later point in time, because with how it's set up now, the only incentive I would see in terms of the utilities here is getting back up to a tier 10. Like, I might start a new wallet later on after I've played out my first wallet, and maybe I've dropped down a few tiers. Maybe I want to start again. I might start a brand new wallet and buy in again. That would give me a brand new wallet at tier 10, right?
Correct. Every new wallet starts at a tier 10. We are kind of encouraging people, though, that plan on playing the game. We would suggest getting in at the presale, because then you avoid the buy tax, of course. There would be a 17% buy tax for any wallet that begins after the project begins or launches.
Gotcha. Now, say I do that and I play out my first hand. Say, for whatever reason, I see a giant pump in the price, and it's just too tantalizing for me. I sell and I take profits or whatever, and it drops me down a tier. So I'm no longer eligible for the jackpot, but I've made back my initial investment plus some on top of that, even after taxes. And I'll get to the first 2 weeks sell taxes. I know they're increased, but so let's say that happens. Say this thing, like, this is not financial advice. I'm just making up numbers for examples. Say this thing 2x's or 3x's or whatever right off the bat in the first week, and I'm just like, well, that's too easy of a gain. I can't leave that on the table, so I sell, and I basically throw myself off the island, if you will. At least becoming like the ultimate winner for the jackpot and all that. And I take a hit. Now, say in a couple weeks later, say like a month into it, I see a dip in the price and I want to get back in, and I've calculated the buy and the sell taxes and it makes sense for me. So I start a new wallet. I buy however much I want to hold to get this percent of the jackpot. So here's the minimum number table. Say I buy 10,000 HP tokens. Now, is that like that percent of the jackpot, that 30%, does that get split up again between everybody who qualifies, who holds over 10,000 HP in this case? Is this like a tier system in itself? And like say I hold. What's that?
No, go ahead and finish your question.
So say I hold like half of all of the HP tokens amongst all of the holders that have over 10,000 HP tokens. Does that mean I would get half of this 30% of the jackpot?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
And it's the number is dollar amount, not number of tokens held.
Oh, okay. So these are in dollars.
Yeah, there's a little caption under the table there. We should make that a little more clear.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Thank you for pointing that out. So if I held over $10,000 worth of HP tokens, then I become in a special class of holders, a special tier of you, if you will, for the jackpot specifically, where 30% of the jackpot rewards get divvied up between me and all the other people that are holding 10,000% or $10,000 or more, and then it's based proportionally on how many of the I guess the tokens that I'm holding in relation to the other people in this special class, right?
Yes. And I think I know what you were kind of getting at before this too. If you do get out of your tier 10 and then buy another wallet,
Yeah.
you can get back into the jackpot up to day 60. The
Oh.
last 30 days of the jackpot would, if you get in between day 61 and 90, would qualify you for the second jackpot. That's essentially the pre-sale of the second jackpot. But it is time weighted. So someone that gets in at day 59 is not going to get as much of the reward as someone that got in at days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, if you take profits on, let's say there's an initial pump and then you get back in on another wallet in day 3 or 4, you can still collect a pretty nice jackpot prize. But if you get in at day, 40, 45, 50, the amount you're going to be able to win certainly goes down. And it's all, Ozzie can help you better with this. It's all a math, algorithm that time weighted that will give you your amount throughout.
Yeah, I mean, without getting too heavy into the math, just picture like exponential decay. You start at a really high number and then it quickly falls down and then goes to almost nothing by the time you get out to day 60. So, whatever the time that you hold, you will earn the points for all of that and that length of time. So,
and I see what you mean. It is not linear. This is exponential decay. So if you hold from pre-sale, each token gives you almost 200 points. If you hold from day 1, it's down to like 180 approximately. If you from day 5, it's 121 roughly. From day 10, it's approximately 73 points. And if you don't buy until day 30, you only get 9.46 points per token. So almost like almost 100 times less than if you held from pre-sale. So I see what you're saying.
And we actually, when we were doing our tokenomics the other day and just finalizing on things, we decided originally we were just going to put 1% from the pre-sale into the jackpot, but we were like, you know what? Let's really juice this thing up. We gave it 5%. The first 2 weeks are going to collect a little more tax into the jackpot. So, I mean, depending on the volume for this project, it could be a really big pot. We're kind of excited to see how much could grow. I think that's pretty attractive to maybe bring in some new players in the game.
Yeah, and speaking of that, is it just going to be 2 jackpots, or is it going to be like indefinitely? You're going to every 90 days, new jackpot.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep, every 90 days.
And I think I saw in here you guys had used the term open up buying in for Survivor Season 2. I like that.
We had a lot of fun with the theme, yeah.
What's that?
I said we had a lot of fun with the theme when we were writing this.
Yeah, and that actually brings me to a community member question. One of my community members asked, are there any copyright issues with using the word Survivor, the concept of the game, or with the style of your logo?
We looked into it. I don't think so. I think we're pretty safe on this aspect.
Yeah, I mean, the contents of the game are definitely not don't mirror what's on the TV show. So hopefully we're clearly different enough on that respect.
Yeah, and I don't think they would even I don't think anybody from Survivor, the TV show team, is going to see this really or care if they did. And I think it's different enough. It's in terms of trademark law, I think it has a context. If you look on legal trademarks, at least in the US, there is usually a context that's specified, and their context will be on television and other things, and it's not even if they tried to argue something like that, you guys could say well, we're in a completely different context, it's blah 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 blah. Anyway, it's something to look into.
I have considered some. Go ahead, Ozzie.
I was going to say it might be worth a little note in the corner there that says not affiliated with Survivor, the TV show.
Yeah, I agree.
I have considered doing some cameos maybe for some past Survivor winners, but maybe I'll have to double think that idea now.
Yeah, look into that. That one of my very discerning and perceptive community members raised that one up with me yesterday, and I'm like, huh, I didn't even consider that. That's a great point. So
Must be a lawyer.
must be. I think he's actually a software developer too.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good one. I didn't think about that. I don't think you guys will run into any issues with that. Just my speculation, unless you go out like you were saying and start asking people for cameos. But
It feels like though in crypto, like everything's a copy of everything though, right? Like everyone's using Elon Musk, everyone's taking Shiba and Doge. I mean, I feel like everyone takes from something for a new project.
yeah, and I don't think this in any way competes with them. I don't think this would threaten them in any way, and I don't think it would be worth their time or money to pursue any kind of anything like this. You know what I mean? I think they might think it's a interesting curiosity is all. That's my guess. So that was a great
Free marketing for them.
yeah, seriously. Um, so that was a
When
great
the ratings
question.
go up, they know who to thank.
What's that?
When their ratings go up, they know who to thank.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Fract, from the community for that question. Now back to the mechanics of it. I have another community question, and this person asks they're kind of confused on the buying aspect of this, and they say the docs really only talk about how APR reduces on sells. Say I buy in at $100 and then sell at $20, the APR will be reduced. Now I come back in and buy $20 worth again. Does my APR go back to what it was, or are there individual APRs calculated on each buy? And if so, is it like a first in, first out situation? So I think they're really saying like if you buy more, do you go back up a tier or anything like that?
Yeah, no, we had thought about that, about some kind of, again, going with the whole theme, like some kind of redemption or whatever, but we wanted to keep things as pure to the original concept as possible. So once you sell, your wallet is what gets tagged with that tier, and you can't recover it after that.
Okay, so that wallet then forever is tainted as being in a lower tier.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
So, Ozzie, on like the coding side of things, do you guys then keep like some array with a list of all of these wallets that are basically in a tier forever, and then like and
Yeah,
so okay.
it's a mapping of wallets to tiers that they're in. Yeah. And then when you're doing a transfer, if it detects that it's a sell, then it calls this other function basically that moves you down to the next tier. There's more math that goes into it because I don't know, it's got to do some calculations individually on each tier, which is a little hard to explain now. Maybe we do a deep dive in the future on that.
Yeah, no, this is great because this is so much different than just like I see a lot of forks that they barely change anything on these rebasers, whereas it seems like you guys have a very custom game here. Like the positive auto rebasing aspect of it, it has its part, but then it seems like you guys have built out this very big system that allows a lot of different kind of stuff to happen, which you don't get really anywhere else that I know of right now. So yeah, it seems like a lot of custom code. Am I right?
Yeah, this is what happens when you have a bear market and nothing else to do with yourself, right? I'm kidding. No, yeah, so we tried to fit it in as a fork to like Titano, SAFUU, all those others, and we thought we could just take kind of the core logic and just copy it 10 times or whatever and just make the tiers work. But it didn't. So eventually we had to just write it all from scratch. I'm sure a lot of the code might be similar because I probably had it on one screen, but the lead dev when he was coding the other one. So it'll look a little similar, but it's all done from scratch.
Okay.
That's
And
why we're trying to get away from the auto. It's not, I mean, there's auto staking, but we're trying to get away from that. We're really pushing the self-governing APY aspect. We kind of want to frame that as what our project is. We don't want to really be another SAFUU Titano. We want to be Survivor Protocol. It's an individual thing, self-governing APY. We're really trying to market that aspect of the project.
And I'm actually in the process of reviewing two other projects that they haven't launched yet, but they're also kind of tackling more dynamic APY aspects of the auto staking, auto rebasing field. And your take on it is much different than theirs. So it's interesting. This almost seems kind of like the next stage or evolution of this space of DeFi, like kind of the more the degen stuff, like the high APY stuff. You know, we had like the DAOs, like the Olympus DAO forks and all that, and then we had like the positive auto rebasers, and now it seems like it's going to be dynamic APY season.
Yeah, that's kind of why we're really holding the code to our chest, and like we're not auditing it so early and putting it out there, because we do think this could be kind of the next thing in DeFi, the next season, if you may. So, you know, we think if it takes off, we're confident it, you know, probably get forked a few times. So, you know, I think it's a cool concept, and you know, even as a group, we have our plan in place how this one's going to work, but we're already saying like, man, imagine you do it this way, or maybe someone will do it where you can regain a tier. So I think there is a lot of, you know, fun that could be had with this model if it proves to be successful. And we wouldn't be surprised if we see some variation of this game happen after this launches.
Yeah, I think this will probably be forked, and we'll see variations on it. Now some quick kind of mechanics. I was wondering about wallet transfers with these tiers. So is there any way to transfer your tokens to another wallet? How does it taint that other wallet in any way? Does it retain the same tier? Because I can see people trying to game the system in some way.
Yeah.
Using transfers.
We spent a lot of time going through those scenarios too, trying to, because we're mostly degens ourselves too, so we know how we can game all these rules, right?
Yeah.
So we played around with a lot of those concepts that you said, like tainting another wallet, whatever. Then we realized, well, then people could do that to each other, and then you could mess with other players and screw them up. So we didn't, you know, while that's a cool idea, we didn't want to allow that here. That's not really what we're looking to encourage. Again,
right?
Because
I would just get a tier 1 wallet, and then I would just dust everybody else.
Exactly. Right. So maybe somebody will fork that and do like the hardcore, you know, game where you're trying to, you know, mess with each other. That's another cool concept.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what we decided on was, then we said, okay, no transfers. You know, we got to keep it as simple as possible. We don't want to worry about these edge cases and whatever. However, we realized that there are legitimate reasons where, you know, you got to move your wallet, you got to get a hardware wallet, whatever. You know, we understand that too. So the one exception is if you can move to a new, essentially like blank wallet with, you know, a new wallet, which is tier 10, has no tokens in it, has never been touched by the game, and you can only move all of your tokens at once. So if you need to do an emergency switch to your, you know, ledger again, et cetera, go ahead. But you're not moving half your tokens here and, you know, playing that, whatever. That's getting a little too fancy for this. We don't want too many ways to play. So
now you said you can only move it once. So say I move like 100 HP tokens to my ledger, and my ledger is a health point HP token virgin. It's never had a HP token in it in its life, and all of a sudden I've moved 100 tokens into it. Now it's tainted. If I were to then send, say I have another tier 10 wallet that has 200 HP tokens in it. If I sent those 200 HP tokens from the other tier 10 wallet I have to my ledger that now that is now holding 100 tier 10 HP tokens. If I sent it 200 from another tier 10 wallet, would that stack and remain in tier 10, or what would happen?
The transfer would actually fail. So you can only transfer to a wallet that is both tier 10 and has 0 tokens in it.
So what
So
if I took my cold wallet then that had that 100 and it's tier 10? What if I transferred those 100 somewhere else and then I transferred in those 200? So technically it would have 0 tokens in it, but it would still be tier 10. Would the transfer then work?
that should work, yes.
Interesting.
Because you're resetting the wallet and it hasn't done anything, so you're not, I don't see any way to get around the rules by
Okay.
just transferring in and then out to somewhere else. That seems innocent enough. Again, we want to make sure that it's a game, yes, but these are people's funds, so we want to make sure that people have some control over what happens to them.
So I'm guessing one part of the checks on a transfer is it goes through all of those tier arrays that are like tier 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and it checks like, is this wallet in any of these tiers? If not, then it's tier 10, send it, as long as there's no tokens in it already.
That's roughly it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, close enough.
Okay, that makes sense to me. And okay, I like that. I think that's a pretty good check against people trying to game that aspect of the system. Now, another thing I want to quickly run through are your names for the treasure, like for the funds. So like for your buy tax, it's 17% buy tax always, and you've got like a lifelock fund, a lifeline fund, a treasury, a burial ground, and then that ration pool and jackpot. So we already know what the ration pool and jackpot are. Most people are familiar with a treasury, so that's basically how you pay for expenses, operating costs, salaries, infrastructure, all that stuff. So that we know what the treasury is for. Now, LifeLock and Lifeline. Let's go to Lifeline first because it's up here first. What is the Lifeline, or what would it be analogous to?
Yeah, so if you're comparing to the other auto staking projects, the Lifeline is essentially your burn and buyback wallet.
Okay.
So that collects through taxes, and it can be used in case you need to stabilize price. And it's just a way that we can buy back and burn token. It's a deflationary measure. So the hope is you don't have to use it, and it is at the team's discretion. We will certainly be conscious of when we use it. If the whole market is down, we're not just going to throw some money into the protocol. We feel if we can get high liquidity to start, that certainly makes it so you don't have to use it as frequently. That's why liquidity is certainly a goal of ours to start. One way we're going to be kind of doing something a little different with it is we may decide to use the Lifeline as a way to invest into some different projects, mostly stable. And then any rewards or return we get, we would funnel back into the ration pool. So we think that's a possible way to have a little more utility and just give some more money back to the users.
Okay, so now you're talking that there's going to be an additional outside revenue source rather than just relying purely on buy pressure to fund the protocol and the rewards. You're saying you're potentially going to use what most other people would consider the insurance fund. You're going to, determine with the team if it makes sense to stake or invest that in other places to try in terms of like stable coin yield farms or liquidity farming to generate rewards, which then you can distribute to the holders and to really fund the protocol from an external source of revenue. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, spot on. And it would be very conservative. We wouldn't be just aping into new degen coins and, saying, hey, we're going to take half of the Lifeline and throw it at, the next Survivor fork. It would be stable coin farming most likely. And then just a way to bring a little more utility and more money to the ration pool. The hope is that by having these different ways to fund the ration pool, it'll encourage people to hold and stay in their higher tier. Uh, and this way they can enjoy the higher APY and the rebases from it.
Awesome. I love that aspect because I always get I get crap from people because they're like, "Oh, you always talk about like these Ponzi style or Ponzonomic projects." And I'm like, you know, the you know, the labeling and all that stuff, you know, is debatable. I love these projects because they're just like very creative games to me and brand new experimental economic models basically that haven't been done before, and we can kind of see what happens as they play out, and we could learn from it. We might and hopefully we can all have some fun with it. It's when I think people get too caught up um in like the high APY aspect of it, and they downplay the risks, and then they end up over investing and getting wrecked, where people then get really kind of salty about these kind of things, when really if they go into it with the proper mindset of what these are, like experimental games kind of, then they might be able to play these better and maybe turn a profit on it, or you know, not at least not get super wrecked and things like that, as we've seen happen with these other ones that are don't have any source of external revenue. So I'm glad that you guys have at least some idea or plan of how to bring in external revenue to fund those BUSD reflections that you're paying out to your holders. Because, you know, say, you know, God forbid, say buy volume dries up or whatever, and people are sitting in here like, you know, waiting for their BUSD, and they don't want to sell because they want to stay in the top tier. Where's that BUSD going to come from? How is that ration pool going to get funded? And you're saying you guys have a plan, because a lot of people have this insurance fund and it either just sits there doing nothing, or as I've seen in some other protocols, the team drains it for their salaries over time, and some people consider that slow rugging or whatever. And I have no problem with teams taking salaries, especially if they're active and working and all that. But you're saying that insurance fund, instead of just sitting there or just going into the devs' pockets as additional team salaries or whatever, you're saying you guys are going to do buyback and burns to support the price action and to drive more funds into the taxes that fill the jackpot and the ration pool, but also you are going to invest some of it into stablecoin yield farming to generate yield, which will then go back to the ration pool and the jackpot to keep the BUSD reflections flowing to the people who are still holding in here. So that way, you know, they're potentially not going to just dry up if the volume dries up. Did I lay that all out correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the plan. And I think too, the burn back and buy wall, you know, it can be beneficial, but if you just look at the past couple months, it's just the opportunity to use it wisely wasn't there. I mean, the market was trending down so much that it was hard to just throw money at a protocol and expect the price to rise with that. So we think
Yeah.
by making smart investments, and we have a lot of really smart guys on our team that do really good TA work and read the markets. We think that is one advantage that we have with our team, just the kind of investment minds that we have around. So we think we can really make it a good way to use that lifeline and make it rewarding to the team. And I just want to piggyback on one more thing that you were saying earlier about just kind of like the whole Ponzi-nomics thing. One thing we're being really cautious not to do that I saw with a lot of the auto staking projects is, you know, if you put in $1,000, you can make 400 million in a year, was in all the docs, I felt like, in all those projects. And
Yes.
I thought that was a real turnoff. So we're not going to sit here and promise that you're going to make X amount of dollars. You know, we're treating it as a game. We're always encouraging people to be responsible, but you know, we're not just going to kind of sell you a dream here either. So we encourage people to be smart and safe, and you know, we're really looking out for people that are playing the game, and we don't want to come off as just like some snake oil salesman and just, you know, we have skin in this game too. We put a lot of money into this project. We're marketing the heck out of it, and we really want to see it be successful. So we hope we come off genuine in that regard.
And honestly, legally, that's the safest route you guys can go, because if you go to like investor.gov and you go to their page on like Ponzi schemes and stuff, what what they use subjectively to determine in the court of law, they will, basically subjectively classify a scheme as a Ponzi if they meet certain criteria. And it's so easy to just it's basically, don't call yourself an investment vehicle, right? If it's an unregulated security, they're gunning for you. So calling it a game or a project is very much, it's much more accurate. It's much more honest. And then also, if you're promising high API rewards that are unrealistic, especially without like a very clear disclaimer that this is only in this token and not in dollars. Like, because people come out here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and they're like, wow, DeFi is amazing. I can make 100,000% APY. That means I can turn $1,000 into $1 million in a year. And boom, the wool's over their eyes. They're brand new. They don't know what's going on. They get wrecked, right? They have to pay the DeFi tuition where they put in too much money. They lose a few $1,000s, and then they learn the hard way, basically. But you guys aren't doing that. You're not like, let me look at your front page. Like, I don't see anywhere on here, basically. Well, I do see here, it says 400% APY. I might put a little disclaimer on there, like 400% APY in additional HP tokens. Because that will take away any confusion that it might be in dollars for new people who don't know what's going on. And then also that will protect you from, potential legal issues down the road, especially in the US. And then the other thing is downplaying risk. Like, they'll say, oh, this is a safe passive income source or opportunity. Boom, they're going to ding you for that. So you guys have most of your bases covered well in that aspect of it. And I've done a ton of research on this and like the linguistics and marketing, especially because I'm under FTC guidelines as a marketer out here in this space. Like, no matter what you say, I'm a marketer, right? Even if I'm trying to be objective and just analyze code and mechanics, like, regardless, I present this information to you guys, I'm marketing it, right? So I have to be careful with the linguistics I use as well. So I'm glad you recognize those aspects and have already done that work and that research where you're trying to basically market your project above board. So my only critique here would be where it says on the front page, it just says 400% APY with nothing else after it. I would put like right next to it, 400% APY in additional HP tokens. Wherever you see it saying that, I would put that there.
We'll certainly consider that. Yeah, that's a good idea. I appreciate that.
Yep. And that's something I always, in all the projects I cover, I always like point that out. And I say, this bugs me, because FTC marketing, like laws like that would get me in hot water, especially I'm fully doxxed. I'm a public figure. Like if I ran a project myself, I'd have to be super careful. Some people are just real ballsy though, or just don't know. But it sounds like you guys actually care about that stuff, especially you're already working on the linguistic aspect of it, calling it a game, being very clear and kind of upfront about what this is, what the potential expectations are, what the potential risks are, and those kind of things I appreciate. And my audience does too, because a lot of them, everybody out here has been burnt in one way or another from deceptive marketing. And when the reality hits them, especially with the bear market, everything hit hard. People really just want transparency. They want things laid out, like, okay, what is it really? What can I really expect? So that way I can, if I want to play this or participate, I can more earnestly come up with a strategy that makes sense, being more educated and informed. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
very well said. Because we've been burned by a lot of that stuff too. So we wanted to make it as clear as possible that, like you said, it's a game, not an investment. If anybody's making YouTube videos out there saying, "Here's how I'm using Survivor Protocol as my retirement plan," we do not endorse those messages.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you guys recognize that and are willing to talk about it. Some projects aren't willing to talk about it. Some YouTubers aren't willing to talk about it. I can't help but talk about it because, like, I have no filter. If it's like in my head, it comes out. So It's easy for me to like because of that put people on the spot like you guys, and it's basically it sounds like you've already thought about it. You're taking care of these issues, and this is my only critique right now on the marketing of your project. Maybe just put that little disclaimer like right afterwards, and then it's more clear. Um, Now, with that being said, so this is great. You guys have an external source of revenue that also, by the way, checks off that other aspect. If people try to call it Ponzonomics or whatever, well, technically, if you guys do this, you have an outside source of revenue more than just buy pressure, funding the taxes. And a lot of people can argue that, the circular economy with the buy and sell taxes creates something that's completely different and undefinable in that aspect. Regardless, people are going to try to critique it that way, and it's just another shield and another income source to profit share among the participants inside of this and to keep those BUSD reflections going. Because I'm actually in another BUSD reflection auto staking protocol. I've been in it for months. I like the team. I like their experiment they came up with. But the BUSD reflections dried up because there's no more volume. The project's kind of floundered a little bit in terms of that. So it's interesting you're coming up with ways ahead of time before launch even to kind of tell people, hey, no matter what, we'll still try to get you guys those reflections. So maybe it might like I see this as like worst case scenario. What could happen? I'm a tier 10 person. Maybe I'm getting a super high APY, but maybe the inflation's driving the price down, and I'm worried I'm never gonna get a full ROI. But maybe I've made 20, 25%, 50% back in BUSD reflections, but maybe volume dries up after 6 months. I'm just speculating, making examples. What are my prospects of potentially ROIing or hitting my profit targets if I haven't already? This is what you're proposing here with your insurance fund, your lifeline fund, farming with that to get extra income to then give as BUSD reflections, I think really bodes well, because even if it's not the highest return, there's still the potential that, okay, if I just sit there long enough and they're just sitting there farming, say you guys got a couple $100,000 in there, maybe a couple million if things go really well, that could potentially, if I just sit there for like a year or 2 years, I could all of a sudden ROI or start taking profits just by sitting there. If like a worst case scenario were to happen to me, if I got in later or like the model doesn't work out, I like this, you guys. I like this aspect that you've thought out about that.
Well, especially now, right? I mean, there is opportunity to be made. So, there is concern launching in a bear market, but by doing this kind of investment strategy with the lifeline, the return could really be huge if the market decides to turn. So that's kind of where we went with this. It may be slow to start, but if this project moves forward, you have the opportunity to make a really good return on some smart investments. And also, if that, like I said before, if that jackpot grows too in 90 days, you get a nice payout there too. So, and look, we're going to be marketing this project as well. I think we've proven to start just in the pre-sale alone. We've spent a lot of money. We're doing our best to do as many AMAs, reach as many as many communities as we can. We're currently working to find a lot of partnerships to kind of work with other projects and other Discords to get the word out there. So we don't want to rely on the players or investors of the game to do the work for us. We want to be a team that works hard, stays out in front of the project after the launch, especially. We're setting aside a good amount of money for marketing. We plan on using all of it. We'll be doing more AMAs. We'll be on YouTube. We'll be doing banner ads. So I think the important thing is you see too many projects fail because they launch, they see an initial pump, and then they think, okay, we can now stop doing the work. So
yes,
we want to keep
I am
working.
in a few projects like that right now, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, we've all seen it, and we've all been essentially just a payout for those projects, right? Where you get in, you think it's a good idea, and they stop working for you. So one thing we want to assure people is we're going to keep working. We have some skin in the game. If the project is well, we as a team do well. So we want to keep working, and I think that's important. Any team that tells you they're not trying to pay themselves a little bit is full of it. So we're not going to sit here and say we're not going to make anything from it, but we want to work hard because it benefits us, the people playing the game, and the sustainability of the game. So we can assure people we'll be working hard after July 19th.
And that's good. And I always tell people, don't be upset about like a tax or a fee for the dev salaries, because if they don't get paid by the protocol one way, they're going to get paid by it another way, and it's going to be in sneaky ways that you don't like. Like people like secret wallets created behind the scenes, loading up on whitelists or pre-sales, and I'll get to your quote unquote whitelist in a second. But like if a developer is saying, I don't want to take any profits, I'm an altruistic, perfect being. I don't need money. I do all this work for free. I just want to create the perfect token. Like, that person's slow rugging the hell out of you. Or they're just going to straight hard rug you. So that's bullshit. Sorry about my language. Hope this video doesn't get demonetized now that I finally got monetization status this morning.
Well, congrats.
Thank you. So yeah, I tell people as a developer, like, if I make a project and I put in so much time, money, and effort ahead of time to create this thing, I'm hoping it's going to turn a profit for me at some point, so it becomes a profitable business model that I've created instead of just a sunk cost. Like, it doesn't make sense unless you're just like some rich millionaire with nothing else to do, retired, and you're just like, I want to create a program, I don't care about the money. The likelihood of that is very, very small. Like, we're real people out here. We got bills and families and expenses. So, like, be upfront about your dev fees and everything, and be like, yeah, we have to get paid too. Otherwise, like, what's our incentive here to keep going with this? So yeah, people need to understand dev fees aren't a bad thing. It's when people try to say, oh, we don't need dev fees, don't worry. Don't worry. That's when you might want to get worried, because that person's probably rugging you. In my opinion, maybe not. Maybe there's like 0.1% of people out there who are like altruistic angels who and they're well off financially and don't need the money. So that's my little tirade on that.
Our dev Ozzie won't be getting paid, but the rest of us will. So I can promise you that.
I was going to say, when the idea first came out through the team, the lead dev just kind of jumped on it, and he just did it because he saw it as a challenge and he was going to do it anyway. But then once he started to deliver something was working, he was like, I'm still getting paid for this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because the opportunity cost, right? You're a good developer, you're going to be able to go make like 5-6 figures over at a corporate job, or
right.
That's the opportunity cost of stopping that to do something like this. That, at least in my opinion, like, I stopped. That's why that's my opportunity cost to do what I'm doing here. I'm giving up a 6-figure income at a corporate job, basically, or at my own agency doing software development. And I'm doing it so I could be a YouTube DeFi analyst. And it's like a gamble for me, but it's like an entrepreneurial thing. I love being an entrepreneur, so I'm taking the risk, and it's working so far. But that's how all of these DeFi projects basically are. I mean, a lot of these people will be doing the work after hours, after work. But at the same time, like, a lot of them do this full time. And if you want a developer available full time for your project with full dedication, they need to be compensated for it, right?
Yeah, I can assure you I've not slept in like the past month, so we're working hard.
And like the money for marketing and stuff, like, that comes out of somebody's pocket, right? Like, either your pockets or investors up, like angel investors and stuff like that, private sales stuff. Like, that money has to come from somewhere. And
we're putting it all up ourselves. This is all coming out of our pockets. We're really banking on this idea, and we're working hard for it. We believe in it, and so yeah, with that comes hopefully it's good for everyone. Everyone that plays the game and the team that created it. So And we're just excited. We're happy for the opportunity to bring something new, and we hope the response is the same.
Yeah, me too. And I like these projects because I participate in them, right? I would be lying if I said I didn't. So people get mad at me sometimes, like, why do you cover these DeFi projects, or why do you cover these degen projects, or whatever you want to call it, or high APY? And it's like, well, I like them, right? This is what I would be doing this anyway, whether somebody was paying me to make videos about this or not. Like, might as well just combine the two and make a thing of it. So that's my response when people ask me why I cover these projects. It's like, well, because I'm gonna be playing these projects regardless because I can't help myself. I love this stuff. I have a high risk tolerance. Um, I think this. I think people like you guys, assuming everything launches correctly and everything you're saying is true, and I always, I'll assume everything you're saying is above board with me. I like this. This is people taking risks to be entrepreneurs to try to make something new that hasn't been done before, and it just kind of pushes the edge of this frontier a little bit further, and it evolves the space just a little bit more. Yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, because thinking long term, right? It's maybe this exact idea is not the future of finance, but this could be one component of it. And you combine all these different projects together and whatever other previous mistakes people have made, and then eventually we'll get that real sustainable DeFi that's gonna carry this industry into the future. You know,
and, and
years from now.
And in terms of what you just said, like, I think the real innovation for the positive rebasing tokens, the auto stakers, if you will, is crowd-funded venture capital, and a way to distribute equity to holders of a percentage ownership in a protocol, project, or business that is distributed based on multivariable strategies like time and money or capital. Because if you don't have a lot of money, maybe you have more time, so you're willing to lend a smaller amount of money over a long period of time to this protocol to gain a bigger portion of ownership, compared to somebody who can just hop in last minute and drop way more money than you because they're a whale or something, and maybe that's how they take their ownership position. Either way, it benefits the company or the business or the project, but also then those people get percentage ownership in a potentially profit sharing business model. And that's what I thought the positive rebasing innovation really brought to the world. And now with what you guys are doing, it might not be super clear yet, but the way you guys are rewarding and kind of penalizing people for how they trade this, for how, if they're super confident in your business model or your project, then maybe they'll stay in the tier 10 and you'll get a lot of really strong holders as your core equity owners in your protocol. And maybe this will be modified and used later on in some potential business venture uh, or equity distribution crowdfunding mechanism for a business, and maybe they'll use aspects of your tokenomics here, because this is kind of some new stuff, and I could see a lot of interesting ways to utilize this, especially as we see it play out in your model over the next couple months. We'll get to see kind of how this plays, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
um and in terms of also bootstrapping this operation, you guys said it's all coming out of your pocket. I do think it's interesting, this tribal role aspect, where instead of doing whitelists like everybody else, you're incentivizing community members with additional APY, almost like a tier 11 to start out, by being more talkative, more active, who are making memes, GIFs, and sharing content on Twitter. And you guys will select 50 to 100 max to become tribal leaders, who will start with 500,000% APY, basically an extra 100,000% APY. And Can you kind of explain how that works?
Yeah, you want to reward the people that believe in what you're doing and that are essentially helping you do the work that you're trying to put in as well. So those that are active in our Discord, on Telegram, are liking, retweeting, making memes. Like we have one guy that comes out with a new video for us every day in Discord. He's a tribal leader. He's going to get
Wow.
100,000% APY to start. We have a couple people that just hang in there all day and tell people about how the project runs. So like when we're not in there for a few hours, they're doing the work for us. So if we find that you're one of those people, it's not a whitelist, but you're going to get that extra APY to start. We're giving some away. We've done like some trivia and some giveaways with communities that we throw a few, but we're trying not to make it so it's like easy to get. You actually have to work for it. It's not like if you invite 3 people to the server, you get a whitelist spot. No, we have to see you putting the work in. So it's rewarding people that deserve it and seem sincere about the project. And we just thought it was a cool way to do it, something a little different. And hopefully it gets the word out there because you're only as strong as your community in these spaces. And we think it's been a good approach. It's helped grow our socials. We also just started a Gleam contest. We're giving away $10,000 worth of HP tokens once we launch. So, we just want to give back to the community, reward people that push the narrative for us and do the work when we can't be there 24 hours a day. So we think it's a unique way. It's a little different than a whitelist. Maybe it's something that people will take notice of and start to do that as well with their communities. But we're kind of getting to know the people that really want to be a part of this, and it's nice to reward them.
Interesting. I could see this being picked up by other projects in the future. I think it's an interesting concept. Now, I
Hey,
mentioned
Bonks, real quick, let's do this too. Why don't you give out, if you have people that ask questions that seem real interested, you can give away 3 of those spots to 3 in your community. How's that sound?
let me write that down. 3 tribal leader spots.
Yep. To anyone that seemed really interested and was asking questions, tell them to jump in the Discord. They can DM or at me, and I'll hand them out at your discretion.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. My community will appreciate that as well. Yeah, I thank you. I love giving stuff to my community, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, of course.
I'll keep an eye out for whoever seems most interested in your protocol, and I'll send them your way.
Definitely.
All right. Now, I mentioned this is almost like a tier 11, but if I'm not mistaken, if they were to sell, they would actually drop to tier 9, right?
Correct. So you don't go down to 250,000 APY. You go from 500 down to the 200 like any other tier 9 member.
Okay, so you'd still be considered a tier 10. Initially, you just have this bonus modifier on your APY, but as soon as you sell that first time, the modifier's gone and you drop down into tier 9 just like anybody else.
Yeah, and we'll make a channel in our Discord. That's probably something we'll start this week where you'll have to submit your wallet. If you're a tribal leader, you get a color roll to your name in the Discord. Submit a wallet, and then when you buy in at the pre-sale, it'll know to give you that extra APY.
Got it. Another part where some people might be confused is the LifeLock fund. I believe this is like your liquidity injection fund. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
It's the auto liquidity purchases every 48 hours.
48 hours. Good to know. Okay. All right. And then the burial ground. I'm assuming the burial ground is your burn wallet, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So I notice here you says the burial ground, which is your burn wallet, is inaccessible, but it does rebase. Now, when you say inaccessible, do you mean like with SAFUU, for instance, where they say it's inaccessible because they don't have the keys to that wallet anymore, and we just have to take their word for it? Or are you guys using an actual null address wallet?
Yeah, we're using the actual dead wallet. Yeah, which I can show you if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Okay, so
Yeah.
are you going to give me a sneak peek at the code here?
I'll show you that part of it. Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Yes. Awesome.
Hang on. Share button is not working. Just a second here.
Here, let me end my stream here.
Oh, maybe it's like your stream. Yeah.
There we
That's
go.
probably why.
Well, this is cool. Normally I don't get sneak peeks at the code before launch.
Here we go. Yeah, we don't want to we don't want to give the whole thing away, but
Yeah.
but just looking at individual pieces of it shouldn't be that bad. All right, can you see my screen?
Let me click watch stream. Okay, I have it on screen. Yes, I see it.
Okay, text is big enough. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good.
Cool. So so the code was all written from scratch, so some of it will look similar to the other auto staking tokens like SAFUU.
Yeah.
Just because it was inspired by them. But here you can see, for example, the burial ground address uses the dead wallet, and it's flagged as a constant, meaning that it's never going to change.
Yep.
And then you can see here, these are all the different wallets for all the features that we've been talking about. And then we have that administrative function that only the contract owner, which would be the multi-sig when we go to launch, if we want to change all of these wallets, you can see all of them can be updated except for the burial ground, which there's no way to modify it.
Nice.
Once the contract.
And you actually stepped me through the rest of the code earlier. You don't have to do it now because I know you don't want to give away any proprietary code right now before you launch, but I do want to let my viewers know that he showed me everywhere that variable, the burial ground address is used, and they do not set it anywhere else. They cannot change it. So that is hard coded to be the dead wallet null address, which rebase is actually happening. So it has the exact same effect as like the fire pit, where it's supposed to accumulate and rebase and absorb more and more of the max supply over time, which theoretically, and I don't know if this is ever, these are all experiments. We'll see how it plays out, but theoretically over time, the burial ground will absorb like 99% plus of all the tokens as long as the volume's still churning. And then, it potentially, they say theoretically, could become deflationary and limit the max supply that's out there. And basically, at some point, the inflation stops. Now, do you guys have a cap on the inflation, or is it an elastic supply?
There is a cap on the supply. I believe it's 3.5. Wait, hold on a minute. So wait, I got to do my math now because we have to convert everything in Solidity. Hold on.
Is it 3.25 billion by any chance?
No, it's, hold on a minute. It looks like we have 100. No. Sorry, I don't have that available right now, but there is a cap on it. I think it's like 1,000 times the initial supply, whatever that is. But I think that the tokenomics were just worked on recently, and I don't think that's made it into the contract. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah. So all of this, of course, all the stuff we're talking about, again, if you're interested in this and you want to confirm all of it, wait for the final audit to come out, or to verify that everything is as we're saying. Right.
Awesome. I guess I just wanted to know if it's an elastic supply or if there is a hard cap on the max supply.
Right. So there is a cap, and once that's hit, then there just no more tokens will be created after that.
Awesome. So in that case, the whole concept of like the burial ground or like a burned wallet that rebases, it is in effect here, where potentially over time, over years even, or however it plays out, it could become deflationary, and the burial ground could kind of absorb most of that supply there. And as trading continues, then even if it hits that max supply that's been minted, it can still keep growing to where then like the few tokens that are left as they trade, like because of supply and demand, theoretically you should get some kind of price depreciation based on a limited demand. Am I representing that correctly?
That sounds right. Yes, that is theoretically how it should happen.
Awesome. All right, cool. So that's what they mean by burial ground. And for everybody wondering, it's a true null dead address. It is as you saw there, first time on camera, folks, a glimpse at their code for the Survivor protocol. So very cool. Thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah, I hope I don't get in trouble with the lead dev for that
one. Sorry, Parvati, for I convinced Ozzie to show me a little bit of the code. So
you made me do it.
I did make him do it. That's true. So I think I covered basically everything. Okay, one other thing. Do you want to explain the first week and the second week? I believe you have increased taxes for those first 2 weeks. Do you want to explain that?
So again, we're really prioritizing that we want people inside of this protocol that want to play the game and are not just looking to be a pump and dump, get out quick. So taking profit is, of course, part of any DeFi project. We're not discouraging it. But if you do, in week one, there's going to be heavier taxes. Instead of 21%, it's going to be 33% sell tax. In week two, it's going to be 28% sell tax. And then afterwards, in week three, moving forward, it's down to the 21% sell tax. Buy tax is fixed at 17% throughout. So we do understand there is a little risk involved with this. This may turn some people off. But again, we're thinking about the protocol as a whole. We're encouraging people to play that want to be part of the game. We're not looking for this project to die on the first pump. So these are the measures we're taking. We did the increased sell tax. We think it's friendly to the people that want to play the game. And so they're just be aware of that if you're buying in. So there is the higher tax to start.
Okay, good to know. And I'm guessing, I think there's a typo here on the white paper. It just says yes for this fund. And I think that's the lifeline. So I think that's your insurance fund. So just to point that out, I was looking this over and I was kind of confused, but I think I figured it out. Week one, you got 6% going to the liquidity protocol, 7% goes to the lifeline.
Yeah, that is the lifeline.
That's the lifeline.
I will take.
And then 6% goes to the Treasury, 4% to the burial ground. 7% goes back as BUSD reflections in the Ration Pool, and 3% goes to the Jackpot. And then week two, the liquidity goes down to basically its normal levels, so does the lifeline goes down to its normal levels. The Treasury the Treasury stays the same the whole time, and then the burial ground goes down to it steps down 1 more percent, and the reflections are still super juicy, so that's good. And same with the Jackpot. The Jackpot reflections are still jacked up, super high. And then week 3, the forever cell trading, everything basically stays the same except the black hole comes down to 2%, the reflections come down to 3%, and the Jackpot comes down to 1% on the sell taxes for a total of 21% going forward forever. And the buy taxes forever are going to be 17%. And here's how those break down if anybody is curious. So pretty standard, tax structure for Autorebaser, Autostaker. So week 1 and 2, you guys really discourage selling to prevent people from just trying to play a pump and dump. Am I right?
Yeah, and you pointed out by comparing all the different numbers too. And number one, thank you for also mentioning that. It looks like our original notes for these things made it into the final docs and not the final name. So I'll have to update those.
Yeah, no worries.
But that the parts that we increased for weeks 1 and 2, because we wanted this to benefit the holders, right? We're not increasing the percentage that goes to the Treasury or anything like that. It's right. The reflections and the Jackpot is getting the majority of that, and the liquidity pool, right? The funds that actually benefit the protocol are getting those additional taxes.
And I wanted to point that out because people could say, oh, they're just trying to do a quick money grab up front. but not really. It's going back in the ration pool and the jackpot, and the additional are getting burnt, and then also going to extra liquidity, and then also to the insurance fund, your lifeline. So that's a good thing for people to note, but at the same time, it's still discouraging more I guess quick day and swing traders trying to speculate and play any quick upward price action. Obviously they're going to get dinged by the tier system, but this is an additional check, it looks like, to kind of discourage selling right off the bat. And if they do decide to do that because maybe that price action is so good that it's worth it for them, that extra tax that they pay goes back as extra BUSD reflections and to the jackpot and the liquidity and the insurance fund to benefit the people who are holding out longer term. That's going to kick back to them and benefit them, right?
Yeah, and we look at it as another way to like instill confidence in the project, so people know that this isn't like a money grab. Like, we're 2 weeks in DeFi is like 2 months in real life.
Oh,
so, I mean, there's been a little pushback on that idea, but we're standing firm on that. Some people have been like, that might discourage me. Well, if that discourages you from getting in a project that you want to get out of right away, we're willing to take that risk, because again, this is something we believe in, that we want to stick around, that we want to last. So we feel it's a measure we're willing to take, and we think the people that are investing, it only makes them feel more secure and know that we have their interests at heart. So we think it's a good measure, and we're excited to see what other people think, but I think it makes people a little more secure in their investment.
Awesome. Yeah, I think so too. I guess that's mainly most of the technical questions that I have with the information I have available to me right now. I know this is probably a little more in depth and a little longer than most of the AMAs I think you've done so far. Is there anything else you guys can think of that I didn't cover yet?
No, like I said, you made me at least think of stuff that we hadn't in making this project, and we've spent countless hours going over all sorts of this stuff. It's like all these things that you mentioned, the game aspects of it, they really came out of discussions that we had about other projects, and it's other things that were like great ideas, but eventually they failed because the sell pressure was too high. Well, okay, how do we combat that? Then we give them rations, and then we give them jackpot, and all those ideas were basically that, to how do you make a more sustainable protocol? How do you benefit the holders? And so, yeah, this was a good conversation to have. It was one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you. We knew you'd be this thorough. So.
Now I'm concerned that your code review after we launch is going to be 6 hours long, because the AMA went about 2. So I'm really worried for your own health and safety for that one.
Well, if you guys want me to do a code review later on, I'm willing to do it, but I think you might be right. Yeah, and I'm glad we had this conversation. A lot of project devs and owners, they'll reach out to me behind the scenes and ask me like what I think about certain things, and it's a lot of the stuff that I kind of covered with you today, with just marketing lingo. Which, by the way, you guys just right out of the gate saying this is a game, right? I appreciate that. I appreciate that you guys are right out of the gate with that. I think more people are going to start doing that, because it's more transparent and honest. And regardless, like, regulatory bodies are going to try to get their tentacles in here, and anybody not doing that's going to kind of get in some hot water. So I'm glad you guys took listen to my advice on that.
Yeah, we've definitely seen the writing on the wall the last few months for that.
Yeah, me too. And I like this though, and I think it'll be cool to see how you gamify this on the front end with your DApp. Like you were saying, you guys were thinking about how are you going to show the information for the holders in the different tiers. It'll be cool if I don't know how you end up doing it. Either way will be fun, especially to see how people play against each other. If it's like the real show, the Survivor, where there are people taking more cutthroat, deceptive tactics against each other and trying to bluff each other into taking moves that benefit them and screw over other people. It'll be fun to see how this plays out.
Cutthroat was really the guy that came to us with this idea. Every time one of our team members, every time we said something, like, no, cutthroat. It's sellers get wrecked. This is like, you have one opportunity, you better figure it out because you're dropping down a tier, you're not going back up. So we think that's the fun part of it, and we're excited to see where it goes. But yeah, we're definitely trying to make it as cutthroat as possible.
Yeah, he said he wanted people sitting there at their keyboards sweating, wondering whether or not to press that sell button.
I'm like that anyway with this stuff, and I'm just like, should I sell? Should I sell? No, no, no. And my problem is I hold forever because like I'm just like, no, it'll come back. It'll come back. And then I bleed out, right? Now with this, one of the things I liked about BUSD Reflections and another protocol I was in is even if I have that indecisiveness and I have a hard time selling, whether it's to take profit or to cut losses, either way, I have a hard time with that. And I know a lot of other people do too. Because if it's going up, they're like, well, what if it goes up more? I can't sell yet. Or if it's going down and they're like, oh, I should cut my losses. But then you're like, well, what if it comes back up and I don't have to take any loss? So there's always that indecisiveness. And the nice thing about BUSD Reflections coming in is you're still getting some of your return back all the while, even while you might be indecisive, like should I or shouldn't I? And same with that jackpot. That's another way. Like if I'm indecisive long enough, I might get that payout from the jackpot as well to get me closer to my profit goals, whether that's getting a 2x, whether that's even just break it even, depending on how I played this thing. So I'm glad you have that reflections aspect of it. And if you guys do the yield farming and stable coins with the lifeline funds at some point, that's an additional way I think that would make long-term holders more comfortable kind of holding, even if like months down the road, if buy pressure dries up, you never know what's going to happen. I think that's a good kind of contingency plan there. But yeah, I think we've covered everything I could find on this project so far. Do you guys have any last words or anything you wanna add?
I think you covered it, man. We're excited. We hope people that watch this are encouraged by what they heard about, and they put a little confidence in the project, and we're anxious to get it off the ground. Again, July 19th is the day on survivorprotocol.com. If you have any questions that I can't imagine that weren't answered in this AMA, please jump in our socials and ask. We're always willing to talk, and we have nothing to hide. We're very transparent, so we encourage people to join our Discord, join our Telegram, let us know what they think, and we look forward to launching.
Well, I appreciate all that, and I will put the links to all of your stuff down in the description. I'll just put your link tree, and I'll put the link to your website and your Discord down there too. So if anybody's looking for the website or their Discord or Telegram, I'll put all that in the description below. And yeah, you said July 19th, right?
That's the day.
July 19th, look out for it, Survivor Protocol. Thank you so much, Lonely and Ozzie, for joining me here today. I had a great time talking with you. I learned a lot. And when you guys launch, I look forward to checking out your code, to seeing how you're doing all this stuff.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Yeah. I'll talk to you guys later.